Ladies and gentlemen, here with me in the studio, we have as the Mic C0-Host Enzo Orlando. Of course, he co-hosts as the Mic along with Sean Fitzgerald every Friday from noon to 2 right here on BuckshowRadio.com. Enzo, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, Brandon. Fantastic. I'm really excited to talk about what we're about to talk about on your show because, I don't know if Sean really wants to talk about this topic too much, but I'm very interested in a certain football league called the XFL. Came back 20 years later.
So I just got done talking about it. One of the things that I love about it that I think the NFL should institute this year right now is the new kickoff rule.
I definitely think the new kickoff rule should be in because just remember, like the traditional kickoff in football in the NFL right now is, it's been known for causing injuries and hurting the player's health too. And I think if Roger Goodell wants to put that in, it would be a good idea. I love the new kickoff in the XFL. I think it's a great way to just, prevent players from getting hurt also, and also it's a little bit more entertaining, just waiting for the receiver to just catch the ball, and then everyone can just go after him at that. I think it would create player safety. Another big rule I like in the XFL is, after you score a touchdown, it's not just like, oh, you're going to kick an extra point or you're going to go for two. You have the option of a 1-point play, 2-point play, or a 3-point play. 1-point play is just like a 2-point conversion. 2-point plays from the 5 and that 3-point play from the 10. So it makes it a little entertaining, get a little chance to get a little bit more high-scoring games and be able to create more points too. And just after the first week, wow, it's been amazing watching the XFL, I got to say.
Yeah, that conversion rule to me is kind of like an XFL thing. I don't really want that coming to the NFL. I do think the NFL needs to push the extra point back to maybe a 40 or 45-yard field goal because here's my thing. The extra point still makes the kicker important, where in the XFL it's almost like unless you're kicking a field goal, nobody knows who the kicker is. Where in the NFL, it still feels like a kicker is a part of your roster.
Yeah. I gotta agree with you on that. Like the kicker in the NFL is like you got the extra point kickoffs, and just in case you need a big time field goal and be the game hero. On the XFL, the kicker pretty much just does kickoffs and whenever they need a field goal. So it makes the kicker position a little bit less important in the XFL. And another thing I like about this league, the overtime rules. I know we haven't seen it yet, but I'm interested once a team gets in overtime how this will work out with each team getting a fair amount of possessions, fighting back and forth.
From my understanding, it's like a hockey shootout, right?
Pretty much it's like that. And we all know the current situation with the NFL's overtime has not been good, as you saw last season with the Patriots and Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Chiefs didn't have a shot to get on offense because the Patriots went on and scored a touchdown in one drive.
I am the only person in the world who is fine with the NFL overtime. To me, it makes sense. You kick a field goal, the other team should get a response. But if the other team walks down and gets a touchdown, boom, it's game over.
It's a quick way to get the game over. There has been some good moments that came out of it, like Tim Tebow versus the Steelers in the 2011 wild card game. That was a great moment. Just because, hey, I like seeing the Steelers lose.
But that was back before the field goal rule.
Yeah, it was.
That was, hey, whoever scores first wins the game. Which, in some ways, I kind of like that, though, too, because it's sudden death. I understand both sides of overtime. I do. I understand the value of sudden death. But I also understand, hey, we need to give everybody a shot. So I think the NFL kind of played it in the middle, where it's like, hey, if you score a touchdown, it's sudden death. But if you get a field goal, another team gets a shot.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like in that middle type thing, and that's what I really like. I also think the thing with the XFL, because I came on here and I got flack for this. When the AAF first came out, I said this league ain't gonna last 3 weeks.
No, I agreed with you. I agree with you on that. I didn't think the AAF was.
I was the first one to say it, and everybody went crazy. I was getting tweets galore, and I was like, "Listen, this is not quality football, and it's not well funded. The XFL is funded by Oliver Luck, and of course, more importantly, Vince McMahon."
And the good thing about Vince McMahon, he knows. He learned from his lesson what he did 20 years ago. I heard from 923 The Fan, Bull in the Fox, had someone come on. They told about how the XFL is actually, they're financially stable to able to be a league, unlike the AAF, which they weren't financially unstable, and that's why they went out of league. And I gotta say, I've been seeing a lot of great things about the XFL, like I said before, but just seeing where the most viewed areas for the XFL. I have the list right here on my phone. I just had it. I should be able to find it pretty soon. But the top like the top 5 cities. One of them was Seattle. They have a team in the
Yes.
XFL. And number 2, Cleveland, Ohio. Number 3, Columbus, Ohio.
See, this is what
and then
I've always said.
number 4, Kansas City. 5, Washington D.C. So
Okay.
only
So
two
two out of 5.
XFL cities had like the top viewers. The other 2, Kansas City just won the Super Bowl, and Cleveland, Columbus. I gotta say, Ohio is probably one of the best football states in the country, up there with Texas.
And I do think, and this was my knock on the XFL, is I think already you can see a literal problem is that they need to add more teams.
I think after this year they will add more teams.
Because to me, it was hard to watch every game in full because there was only one game at a time. You couldn't flip back and forth. And this is my one thing that I think I'm calling it the myth of the XFL. People, the whole thing about this league was the game was going to be faster. I didn't feel like the game was faster at all.
It felt like a normal pace of every football game I've ever watched.
It felt like normal. It almost felt longer because of the fact that there were limited commercials. And because of the fact that there was no other game to turn on, I do think we need more football. And everybody who's saying Cleveland needs an XFL team.
I
gotta say Columbus needs it way more.
I agree. Columbus needs it way more because first of all, Columbus is bigger market than Cleveland. Actually, if you look at the population, all that, Columbus is the top area for jobs in Ohio.
It's
too.
why it's the state capital.
And it's state capital too. And I think you see Columbus people with Ohio State. They love Ohio State football. I think the XFL can succeed. I don't think Vic Vietnam would. If he was going to start a team in Columbus, I don't think he would have that team play at Ohio State. I think he would have it play with the Columbus Crew play, Manfree Stadium. It's like off 71. If you drive by Columbus, you see it. It's an older venue. It's like about 20 to 25 years. Not bad. I've been there for a soccer game before. Pretty cool, but I think it could work for an XFL because most of these XFL teams are in soccer teams except for New York. And it looked kind of terrible on TV. I'm not going to lie. Seeing the New York team playing in MetLife Stadium, it did not look good, but all the other ones were...
But for the most part, for an XFL game, that New York Stadium, that MetLife Stadium was pretty full for an XFL game.
It was pretty full. People were surprised. It's just, no one saw anyone, way upper deck. It was mostly the lower sections.
Right.
But New York's such a big market. They can probably be able to pull in more fans if this league continues to grow.
Again, folks, Enzo Orlando Coles of Pass the Mic joining us. What was your thoughts on the helmet communication and then the sideline interaction? I liked it, but I thought it was too much. I think they need to scale it back a little bit.
I feel like it's too much. It's kind of like I remember when I saw that ESPN 30 for 30 documentary on This Was the XFL, and I remember they would do a lot of that too, and I think it wasn't as bad as they were doing it the first time, because I think the first time the XFL was in, it was more about entertainment. You tell me it was a little bit more like wrestling instead of football.
It was basically like a wrestling promotion, but it was football.
Football, yeah, pretty much. 'Cause I remember,
and that's why it died, because it was so popular the first week. It had record views, and then it dropped 90%.
Well, there was some tech problem they had. With
it went
NBC
from 10 million views to 1 million views in the matter of 7 weeks.
And the funny thing about the first week of the XFL, the ratings were great. They were doing good, and I think the XFL can do well. It's just the only problem is once you get to middle of March, you got March Madness. Then once you get to April, you got baseball season's back. The Masters are going on, and then the NBA and NHL season, they're going to get into their playoffs. So doesn't the season end in April, I believe?
Yeah, it ends April 26th is the championship.
A good date because I know NHL playoffs should be.
They should start right around there.
NBA season should be wrapping up.
NBA postseason should be beginning. They should already be almost at the end of round 1 by then.
Yeah.
So
it's not a bad spot where it's ending. It's just you got to see how it's going to do against March Madness, which is always the biggest event in March. The Masters is only a weekend event, and I know not everyone's a big golf fan. I doubt many people who watch the XFL are like me who like golf, and I know you're not a big golf person like I am. So you gotta just see how it goes, but I think it can last a season and be able to continue with another season. Hopefully, what we just said earlier, expand teams.
And again, at this point, it's a double-edged sword because it's okay, I understand why they're starting it now, right? Because this is a 9 to 10 week dead period in the sports calendar. But also, it almost felt like, you know what? do I really feel like this is entertaining football? I'll watch it. But at some point, I was like, do I really want to watch football today? Like, I just watched Super Bowl. Are we just moving on? Like that's how I kind of felt. Like, should it start a little bit later?
I don't know. I mean, feels like once you have like the NBA Finals over, it's just baseball season pretty much, and then a couple PGA.
That's my thing. It's like, should it just be a summer league?
Summer league, but. You know how hot it gets in football, and being in those pads and gears got to be like terrible for players.
Yeah,
so
good point. That's a great point.
There's a reason why NFL's training camp usually begins end of July and going into August, and they do practice indoors at like some areas, like Miami or Arizona, because it's too hot over there in the summer, and they got to be indoors because it's a little bit more cooler. I think it work. The other interesting thing about the XFL, did you see this interesting article? The XFL drew higher ratings than any NBA or college basketball game last week.
Yeah, and the NBA, as we all know, is having a huge rating crisis. We're going to talk about the NBA in just a matter of minutes here. But the XFL is drawing because people love football. I do think, and I will say this, and this is not a knock against ESPN, but I thought Fox did a way better job than ESPN at broadcasting it, and I thought the only thing interesting about ESPN's way of doing it was Pat McAfee. I thought Fox really took the analytical perspective, and they didn't force the play calling. They didn't force anything. I thought Fox made it so much more entertaining. Again, it's not a knock at ESPN, but you look at, we talked about NBA and college basketball. Most of those are on either ESPN or TNT. Football is mostly a Fox thing. I thought Fox really handled it well.
I mean, I agree with you. Like, I like the way Fox covers the NFL, other than Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are the main guys. Which, I mean, they're not the most exciting announcers, but they do.
They get the job.
They get the job done. That's what I'm saying. There's better announcers on Fox. I know that could have that spot. CBS does a good job in the NFL too. ESPN football coverage. It has been so bad the past couple years. I'm not going to lie. It's not good. Monday Night Football has been terrible ever since John Gruden and Mike Tirico left. It's been bad. In the XFL, I thought they did a better job than they do with Monday Night Football, because I'm not going to lie, I can't stand Booger McFarland as a commentator. He says the dumbest stuff. I couldn't stand the stuff he was saying during the Bills and Texans wildcard game. That was stupid, but
during the Eagles-Giants game, real quick, here's a funny story on Booger. He tells us, remember, all of our receivers just went out. Alshon Jeffrey went out. Whiteside went out. He goes, I call a deep bomb. I'm like, really? The only receiver we have on the field is Greg Ward.
Greg Ward.
You
not even your starting receiver either. I mean, I couldn't really say. I remember he was saying about how Dak Prescott, he's one of the top. I think it was against the Giants. Dak Prescott, I mean, he's one of the top quarterbacks. You gotta go show how this guy's playing under pressure. The first play Dak Prescott does after Booger says it, he throws an interception. I'm like,
of course,
really,
man.
Booger? I can't stand him. He's just annoying. But
all right, so
the other good thing I liked about the coverage, I think, is a great business move by Vince McMahon is incorporating the gambling spread onto the graphics right there, which I think will be big. I didn't really bet on this one because I'm like, I have no idea who these teams are or who they got. I don't know what it's going to be, so it's not really worth getting the bet, but it was a great idea by having the point spread on ESPN and Fox. So I think that'll just get people to just watch it a lot more, even like, especially in like Vegas and New Jersey where gambling, sports betting is legal. So that was a great move by McMahon, I gotta say.
Last question for you on the XFL. Do you have a team that you're rooting for at all?
I gotta say it's the DC Defenders, mainly because of Cardale Jones. Pretty much, I remember when he took Ohio State to the national championship. I was third string receiver, beating Wisconsin, beating Alabama, then beating Oregon. So just that Ohio love right there. But I think if Columbus gets a team, I'll have to like roll with them because I'm an Ohio person, so I always roll with any team that has to do with Ohio. But Cardale Jones, closest connection to Ohio, and that's why I would say DC Defenders fan. But I like DC teams. I think I see things on Twitter like saying about how the Defenders, they are better than the Redskins already, or they just put out a better product than the Redskins, which I thought was funny.
No comment on that from an Eagles fan. As I kicked off my show today, Quinn Griffin ended up calling in, and we had a little bit of an argument. And I said, hey, listen, I don't like this Andre Drummond trade at all. I don't get it. I didn't think it was smart. I think you're just adding money to a team that's terrible. What are your thoughts on the Drummond trade?
So, in my show last week, I think I first of all, when I saw we got Andre Drummond, I'm like, all right, we got Andre Drummond. Who do we give up for? And then I saw Brandon Knight and John Henson. I'm like, you gave a bag of beans for an all-star center. You didn't give up Tristan at least. And then you also had that second-round draft pick. So it might be a bad trade on both parts. I'm not going to lie. Because, what are you going to do with 3 big men, pretty much? I don't even know what the direction of the Cavs is. Kobe Altman, I don't care what people say. He has not done a great job as the GM as the Cavs.
Here's the thing, Enzo. Is Tristan Thompson is a free agent at the end of this year. So they could theoretically get rid of Tristan Thompson.
God.
But here's the other thing, right? Is Drummond has a player option for $28 million. So if they do pick that up, you're paying him $28 million, which is about 8 more than what Double T would be worth. My philosophy, and you know this very well because we've talked about this so many times, is tank. You literally clear the decks. I'm talking Kevin Love, Double T, whoever. You clear the decks, you go out, you get a draft pick or 2, and they have to work. That's the key. We don't know if Sexton and Garland are going to work. They have to work, and we're not sure about that right now, which is earning the Cavs development. Then you go out and you get that superstar, whether in 2021 it's Kawhi or Paul George or Gordon Hayward, and then 2022, obviously LeBron could come back here for one final hurrah. That's the direction. I think you get better over time. I don't see how this trade makes the Cavs better unless Drummond is playing at superstar potential, because we've seen what he's done in Detroit. Detroit's been a basement team for years.
I think he's only led Detroit to the playoffs twice. One time I had to face the Cavs and got destroyed by us with LeBron. But here's the thing. I always agreed with you on taking, and taking does work in the NBA. If you look at some of the top teams right now, the Bucks kind of went through a bad time of basketball before they had Giannis, or when Giannis was just
and
young.
Giannis blossomed all of a sudden.
They tell you, tanking works. The Sixers, I know Barkley called them the Browns of the NBA, but they're still doing all right.
The Sixers frustrate me so much.
They do.
They have so much talent, and everybody's saying you got to trade Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid, and I'm like, wait a minute. I love both of them, and they play well together. I don't know what's wrong with this team.
I don't know.
They're well coached. By the way, they're well coached. They have talent. Whoa, what is going on?
I know. I can even say that the Lakers kind of tanked for a little bit before they got
the
LeBron.
Lakers kind of tanked for LeBron.
I'm telling you, tanking works in the NBA. And Sean's telling me on when we're on our show on Fridays, if you ever want to call in on this segment or whatever, I would love to call you in because you're on my side for this. When it comes to tanking, he's like, oh, the Cavs have faith. I think Garland could work out. I think Sexton could work out. I think that, Kevin Potter Drew. I like these guys you have, but I'm not saying we're not going to be competitive.
I don't see any
here's what he told me. Was it last semester or was it last show? He said, the Cavs can make it in the playoffs in 2 years. I'm like, I think the Cavs need to tank a little more longer because I don't know how this is going to work. You got to tank in the NBA, and it's a league that's built to work that way. Get those lottery picks.
It is literally how the NBA works. There's no argument.
Oh, my gosh. The Cavs tanked for LeBron in 2003.
And the issue is, if the Cavs do make the playoffs like Detroit did a year or two with Drummond, what good is that if you make the 8th seed for 3 years in a row and then you're back down to the basement? It's the worst place to be in the NBA.
It is the worst place.
It's like the Blazers who went on this miraculous run last year, but besides that, what have they done? What have OKC done for the last 3 years with Russell Westbrook? 6th seed eliminated, 7th seed eliminated, so and so on. It's the worst place. You're not a championship contender.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference in the NBA. This isn't like the NFL. This isn't like the MLB. In the NBA, there's a huge difference. There is a huge margin between being a playoff contender and a championship contender. Right now, I only see 3 championship contenders. Both LA teams and Milwaukee.
I agree.
Those are the only 3 teams that I think could win the championship this year. And like we've been talking about, Philadelphia has been hugely disappointing. But like Boston's a nice team.
They're a nice team.
They're nice, but they're not a championship contender.
No, they're more like they can make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
They're like Utah or like Denver.
Yeah, I would agree.
Like they're in that range. It's really hard to win in the NBA, and yet I don't see the direction with this Cavs team.
I don't either. Like the first time LeBron left, I think they had a better understanding of what they were doing, and then after the second time when he went to LA, here's the thing: they tanked that first year. I remember, we traded Mo Williams in that Vernon Davis trade, and remember we were able to get Baron Davis. We were able to get Kyrie Irving in that draft pick, and Tristan Thompson too. And then the following year, Kyrie had the shortened NBA season because of the lockout, but Kyrie had a good rookie season.
And Deion Waiters got which didn't really work out. He was okay.
He was okay, but I think once LeBron came in.
And then they got Anthony Bennett, and it didn't work out. But they had youth that could grow, and they had good coaching. What is John Beilein? We don't know what John Beilein is.
We have no idea. He's a first-time NBA coach.
I mean,
I know he coached like so long in college, but NBA at college, a little bit different. You know, I mean, you're still coaching basketball, but it's just a different level.
At least Byron Scott and Mike Brown, Mike Brown was not a great coach. Byron Scott was a terrible coach, but they were veterans. Like Larry Drew was last year, that they shouldn't have fired Tyronn Lue.
They shouldn't have. I think when they fired Tyronn Lue, so many players wanted to quit that
team.
Just knew. J.R. Smith literally didn't want to play the rest of the season, and George Hill wanted to leave.
Kevin Love wants to quit now.
Oh, he's been wanting to quit since I don't know, the third week of the season. He's like, man,
I signed this contract. I tried to stay on with you guys, and I have no idea. And here's the thing. The Cavs are hoping that Colin Sexton, who I think at best is going to be a really good six-man, like a Lou Williams. Yeah. They're hoping that Darius Garland can really blossom, and they're hoping Porter Jr. can blossom.
I think Porter...
But I just don't see it.
I kind of see it in Porter Jr. a little more than Garland. I think Garland's got more time to develop. He barely played in his freshman year of college, so there's a lot to put in that, man. That's why I was questionable on that pick. I'm like, you didn't really have much film on him, and you're not like too sure like what he was able to do. He only played like not even half the season. He actually got hurt against Kent State when he was with Vanderbilt.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did.
That's right. I remember that.
I remember that.
So here's the deal. I talked about the 5-year plan. Or in Q just think that they are accelerating the 5-year plan. I think this is a step backwards of the 5-year plan. I think next year, this is what I'm doing about the Cavs. I'm letting Drummond go. I'm finding a suitor for Kevin Love. I'm going to tank one more year, get these players ready. That way in 2021, I have nothing but cap space.
That's what the Cavs need to do. I mean,
because if you sign Drummond to a long-term deal, you're stuck in the same situation that you had with Kevin Love.
Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson, yeah, you basically are. And it doesn't make any
Drummond
sense.
is better than Tristan Thompson, but how much better? Like he is. He is above Tristan Thompson.
Are we seriously going to go into playoffs with just having two big men?
That's my thing.
That's your thing. The NBA is so different now.
And if you do, you're going to get beaten the first round, and then you're going to go back to the bottom the next year.
Yeah, you are. I mean, here's the thing. The NBA is so much different than it was 10 years ago. It's more like I would say like a small man's
league.
It's
small ball
It's more small
but
ball,
you
more
do,
shooting.
You do need one big guy, which is my problem with Houston trading away Capella. They have no size.
They have no size. And they get rid of Nene, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, those two big
tallest players like P.J. Tucker.
P.J. Tucker's like 6'8",
How are they going to guard Jokic?
Oh my God!
Or Gobert or Anthony Davis.
I don't think Houston's gonna go far.
Give me the ball.
Give me the ball. It's gonna just be Harden and Westbrook trying to do what they can, but we all know how those two work out because they just literally it's gonna be them having the ball the whole time this season. It'll be like ball goes to Harden and ball goes to Westbrook. Westbrook with the ball. Westbrook misses. Rebound Harden. Harden takes a shot. Misses. It's gonna be that all year for the Rockets.
Lord. All right, Enzo, we're going to move on. We have about 7 to 8 minutes left, and on the final topic today, I want to get your thoughts on the Cleveland Browns offseason. Of course, we have a new head coach in Kevin Stefanski. Myles Garrett just got reinstated
the big news
today. So here's the deal, man. If you're the Browns GM, you have the 10th pick. Now, I have seen some trade proposals that people have made up about, maybe if you trade Odell to Washington and get the 2nd pick and get Chase Young and all this stuff. I mean, what are your thoughts? What do the Browns need to do? Are they there? Would you make some changes? What do you do with the Browns, man?
First of all, start out, the O-line was very bad last year, and I'm telling you that's the first thing on Andrew Berry's list is to get an offensive lineman. I would say you have to get one in the first round, I would say. And then second, third, or fourth, get 2 more O-linemen just to see how these guys work out. And spending free
agency on offensive and defensive line, by the way, because their defensive line depth. If Garrett and Verdon go out, as we saw last year, their depth is terrible.
They need to get depth on the defensive line. Maybe maybe I might have to add safety because I don't think Demarius Randall's going to come back.
I don't think Demarius Randall. But then again, this is what I've always said: smart teams that win the Super Bowl, and Kansas City is the outlier. By the way, let's just take out Kansas City; they're the outlier. Usually, who wins in the Super Bowl?
Defense.
Teams that run the football and have great line play on both sides of the football.
I mean, I agree with you there. I mean, the Browns' D-line was looking good up until the Myles Garrett incident. And once that happened, the whole defense pretty much collapsed because Myles Garrett is literally the core of the defense.
And to me, that shows a little weakness, though, in Steve Wilks, too, because if you think about it, football is a team game. I get you're losing your superstar pass rusher. They still had guys, though, like Sheldon Richardson and Vernon. Well, where were they at?
Where were they at? I mean, Vernon was hurt. He was on and off injury.
Ogunjobi, Richardson, you had a few guys, but you definitely need to boost that up. You need to boost the offensive line. You need to spend and draft and put resources there. At the receiver position, here's my thing, man. This is the one thing that we disagree with because I've been telling you this for months. If I can get a great offensive lineman and a first-round pick for Odell, boom.
I don't know. I disagree with that. I think Odell, he said he was on a groin injury, but I don't know how long it was or how true it was. I think you keep Odell, you keep Jarvis. They have good chemistry with each other, all right?
But
keep Rashard Higgins.
We've seen Baker.
I think Baker couldn't handle the pressure last year.
We've seen Baker do it without great receivers, though. We've seen him do it with just Jarvis, Higgins, Callaway. Yeah. I don't know necessarily if you need Odell. Now, I'm not just going to give Odell away. But if you can give me a great offensive line, if you could if we could reverse the trade, if you could give me Zeitler back and give Odell back to the Giants, I would reverse the trade and do it. And I would keep Peppers. I think in the long term, now, if we're talking about now a year later, here we are, when that trade was made. Now, to me, Peppers is going to develop. I think he's a better safety than what people think. Zeitler's a better guard than what I thought originally. And Odell has been nothing but a circus.
That's just how Odell is. There's some other story about how Odell gave Damon Sheehy-Giuseppe $2,000 after he did that punt return.
And then the police incident. I mean, when is it going to be enough? When is somebody going to come in here and be a grown-up? Let's open Stefanski. Let's open Andrew Berry, which I trust. I think it's going to work.
I think I have more faith in Stefanski than I ever had in Freddie Kitchens, and he hasn't been the head coach of the Browns for one game yet.
That's my concern too. Is he hasn't been a head coach yet? Again, we needed a veteran, and that's my worry again. You're hiring another first-time head coach.
I mean, I'm not saying they got it on the money this time. When I saw they got Stefanski, I'm like, all right, well, we'll see how this works.
That's what my thing was. I'm not going to judge him. I'm not going to judge him. He had an okay track record in Minnesota.
I mean, at least he was a coordinator for a long time.
At least he was a coordinator.
Freddie
Kitchens is now the tight ends coach for the Giants.
I thought he was going to be running back coach because that's where he was before.
Yeah, goodbye to Evan Ingram's career.
Oh yeah, goodbye to that. I thought he was going to have to coach Saquon, and Saquon would just literally.
So now I have to see Jason Garrett and Freddie Kitchens on the same staff
twice a year for you.
Twice a year.
That is
gotta love the Giants, man.
What is Dave Gelman doing with that team? Eli Manning's gone. You have the second coming of him with Daniel Jones.
I think I might have been actually wrong on Daniel Jones. Remember I came on your show and said that he was going to be the next Nathan Peterman for 6 interceptions in his first start? I think Daniel Jones is actually okay. I like Saquon Barkley. They need to rebuild the offensive line and defensive line. The Giants have talent. My issue with the Giants is like what I have with the Browns. It's always about what? Coaching. They don't have coaching. They don't have a direction. Their front office is bad. The Giants are the Browns of the NFC.
I would say yes, the Giants are the Browns of the NFC, other than they have two Super Bowls.
You're like, man, they have talent. You're like, man, this team could be scary. You woke up and they're 3rd or 4th at the end of the year.
Yeah.
The Giants went 4-12 this year with actually not a bad roster. And I didn't even think Shermer did that bad of a job coaching. If you actually watch the Giants, they did not play that bad. They played pretty well. They didn't have a defense at all. I mean, you could run and pass on them all day. It was too easy, man.
I mean, I remember I was watching your Eagles play the Giants, and since your offense was so banged up, you guys made it look like you had your first string in there with Carson Wentz at quarterback.
And I'm going to talk about this coming up next. Of course, All or Nothing came out. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I'm taking it very slowly. I have watched the first 2 episodes. My number one takeaway, and I'm going to say this right now, and I'll come back to explain it later on this show. If anybody dares to talk about Carson Wentz, come talk to me, bro. Carson Wentz is a franchise changer. He's a franchise quarterback, has all the tools, great leadership. Oh, but he's injury prone. injury prone because Clowney gave him a cheap shot because I still would think we would have beat Seattle.
Oh, you guys
we
could
had
have beat
nobody.
Seattle.
Carson Wentz was throwing the lawn chairs.
I'm surprised Clowney did not get kicked out of that game.
How the heck did we make the playoffs? You're starting 4 wide receivers are out. You have no corners. The corners were trash. This was Carson Wentz and kids from the practice squad.
Pretty much.
And he was playing like an MVP.
Pretty much. Carson Wentz should have been in the MVP race, too.
That's what I'm saying. He should have won the MVP 2 years ago. I just think people don't like Carson Wentz because they say he's injury prone. It's like people have judged Carson Wentz since he came out, even in his rookie year. Do you remember his rookie year?
His rookie year wasn't too bad.
It wasn't bad. He threw a lot of interceptions late in the year because his number 1 wide receiver was Dorial Green Beckham, who threw a woman down the stairs and smoked weed.
Jesus.
That was his number 1 receiver. That was EDP's favorite player.
I remember that. EDP, our good friend. His Eagles takes are always interesting.
His Eagles takes are always interesting. All right, Enzo, we got to leave it here, man. I appreciate you for coming on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, coming up next is the WWE Network ending, and is WrestleMania going to be live on Fox Channel 8 this year? That is coming up next. Here, I'm Brent Roth. Thanks, Enzo, for coming on.
You're welcome, Brent, anytime.